Hi guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk you through some books that I'm planning on reading soon. It's not really 100% set thing, but I've decided to read at least almost exclusively books in French in the month of July. And I thought I'd take a little look at the books in French I actually have on my shelves and put together a little TBR / all the French books I have on my shelves for you, so that you can see what might be coming up next, or also to discuss some of these books, hopefully if you've read some of them, if you want to read some of them as well, and yeah, just to have a little discussion about it. So I'm gonna jump straight in with a book, a novel which I think was first a screenplay that Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, called Les Jeux, Sont, Faits. By the way, for any of these books, if there are English translations, I will write it in the description box below, so you can go and check it out. I know nothing about this book because I found it outside. It was just a book that someone wanted to get rid of, and I just picked it up because I quite enjoy Sartre, and I haven't read this one before. I think it's something like it's hinting at taking place in Nazi-occupied France, but I don't really know that much more about it. I am also considering rereading Huis by Jean-Paul Sartre. The English title is No Exit, and it's one of my favorite plays, and it's this kind of surrealist play in which four people are together in a room and they don't know what they're doing there, and they start to learn things about each other, and that most of these people are probably not really good people and have done something quite bad in their lifetime. I love this, so I might also give this one a reread. Then I have a science fiction book from the end of the 60s by Barjavel, La Nuit des Temps. I've heard so many things about this, and it's quite a fun premise because it's supposed to be about an Antarctic expedition in which scientists find remnants of, 3,000-year-old civilization. And there they also find two human bodies that have been kept in cryostasis. So that sounds really, really intriguing. Then I have a little poetry collection by Guillaume Apollinaire. He is one of my favorite French poets, and I haven't talked about him on my channel yet, and I definitely want to remedy that, but his poetry collection, Alcools, is probably my favorite poetry collection ever. And this one is an interesting one. It's called Calligrammes, and it's poems he wrote between 1913 and 1916, so pretty much during the First World War. And he was experimenting with forms in which he wrote his poems. I'm just gonna show some. And someone annotated this. So I'm really interested to see what he does with this, and it's definitely been on my reading list for a long time because I've read one of these Calligram poems in school. So yeah, that one should be really interesting. Then I have more contemporary works, at least two of them for now. The second book in the Neapolitan Quartet by Elena Ferrante, which I'm reading in French because I'm just weird that way, and it's originally written in Italian, so I want to read it in a language I can read, which is the closest to Italian. So I'm reading it in French. I want to read this year at some point. I've set it for myself because it's one of the oldest books I've had on my TBR. I'll link the video in which I try out the chapter of these oldest books on my TBR, so it's definitely on the list for this year. We'll see if I feel like picking it up because it's quite big. Then another contemporary one, which is probably the newest one published at least, That's La Femme qui Fuit by Anaïs Barbeau-Lavalette. This is a Canadian novel, and I think it's been originally written in English. It's called Suzanne, and it got a lot of prizes in Canada, I think 2 years ago. I'm not even sure. And this is the author kind of trying to piece together the life of her grandmother, which was an artist in Quebec, Montreal, and other places. She was basically all around, and she was estranged, I think, from her family. So the author is trying to reconstitute her life, basically, which is supposed to be a really crazy one. So I've heard lots of great things about this one. And finally, I have 2 books by my beloved Émile Zola. I feel like Nana will be the first one I would want to pick up, just because this follows our main character, Nana, who is the daughter of Gervaise, who is the main protagonist in L'Assommoir, which I absolutely loved. And it follows her as she ventures into prostitution work in Paris in the 19th century. And I think how she really rises there in society and becomes like a high-class prostitute. I would really like to try that one out, and I'm kind of motivated to get to that one in July, actually. And the other option would be Germinal, which is probably the most well-known novel by Zola, and I have never read it completely, and I'm kind of scared of it. I've read some excerpts in school, and I think when it comes to be brutally honest, Zola is probably the harshest in this book, at least from what I can understand and from the bits and pieces that I've read. So obviously I need to be in the right headspace to read this, but it's definitely on my list to read soon, hopefully. So that's it. These are the books I pulled from my shelves that I have and that are all written in French and I want to read in the month of July, at least some of them. Let me know if you are interested in any of these, if you've read any of these. I would be really interested to know what your thoughts on them are. And yeah, I hope this was interesting to you, and I hope you are still reading great books, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!